You know that feeling when you walk into a sports bar or maybe a really high-end electronics store?
And there's that massive wall of 10 or 20 screens.
Right. And they're perfectly synced. I don't mean sort of synced. I mean frame perfect, crystal clear, zero lag across the board.
It's an impressive sight.
It really is. And we usually just stare at the screens. But today, we're looking at the invisible infrastructure making that possible. We're doing a deep dive into the Kramer VM-10H2.
Yeah, it's a bit of a robotic-sounding name, I know. But it's the heavy lifter that really separates a professional install from, a messy DIY project.
For sure.
Technically, it's a 1 to 10 distribution amplifier, but that name really underplays what it's actually doing to keep the video signal alive.
Because, I mean, anyone can go online and buy a cheap HDMI splitter for $20.
Oh, easily.
But the VM-10H2 lists for over $1,000. So the mission here is to figure out why enterprise reliability commands that kind of premium, specifically when we're pushing the absolute limits of HDMI 2.0.
And pushing the limits is definitely the correct phrasing here. So this unit takes a single input and distributes it to 10 identical outputs. But the specs are what actually matter.
Yeah, that caught my eye immediately. It's not just 4K 60, it's the 4.4.4 sampling at 60 hertz.
Right, which means absolutely zero color compression is happening.
And that is a massive bandwidth requirement. Most consumer gear starts compressing color data long before it hits that ceiling just to save space.
Exactly. Passing 4.2.0 is easy, but 4.4.4 is crucial. If you're just watching a movie at home, sure, you might not care. But for digital signage, spreadsheets, high-end presentations,
You really need that chroma data.
you do. If you compress it, your fine text just turns into a blurry mess.
And to move uncompressed 4K like that, you're looking at a throughput of 17.82 gigabits per second. That is nearly maxing out the entire HDMI 2.0 pipeline.
It is. And maintaining that signal integrity across 10 ports simultaneously is where the engineering challenge lies. Plus, you have to deal with HDCP 2.2 compliance.
Ah, the digital handshake.
Right. Without that standard, the device simply wouldn't be allowed to pass through protected content, like 4K movies or streaming. It would essentially become a paperweight in a professional setting.
So if the chain isn't intact from source to sync, you just get a black screen.
Precisely. It's the gatekeeper.
But signal dropouts aren't always about encryption. Long cable runs are usually the enemy here. And Kramer has this proprietary equalization and reclocking technology.
Yeah, it sounds like marketing speak.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's actually tackling a very real physical problem with copper cables. It's dealing with attenuation and capacitance. Because as a digital signal travels, the square waves start to round off and timing errors creep in.
Jitter.
Exactly, jitter. A cheap splitter just amplifies that noisy signal, making it worse. The VM-10H2 actually reconstructs the digital pulse. It rebuilds and equalizes it.
It reclocks the timing so the signal leaving the box is as clean as the one that entered, which explains why you don't see that digital snow or random dropouts on the screens at the far end of the bar.
Right. And it prevents the other nightmare scenario, which is EDI management.
Oh, HDMI handshakes. The worst.
Usually, if you plug a laptop into 10 different TVs, the source gets completely confused about which resolution to output. It might default to the lowest common denominator, like 1080p, or just fail entirely.
But the iEDI Pro feature handles that negotiation automatically.
It does. It tells the source exactly what to send, ensuring plug-and-play operation.
Now, pushing almost 18 gigs of data and reclocking 10 signals generates heat. This definitely isn't designed to sit on your TV stand.
No, this is enterprise-grade hardware. It's a 1U size, designed for a standard 19-inch rack. It's enclosed in aluminum with fan ventilation. It's built to live in a server closet and run continuously.
And it has a mini USB connection for firmware upgrades, plus front panel buttons for troubleshooting and forcing specific RGB or HDCP modes.
Yeah, you aren't just paying for HDMI ports. At a street price of around $1,160, you're paying for uptime.
Reliability.
Exactly. Contrasting with consumer electronics, this is built so that the 10th screen looks just as good as the first.
The invisible infrastructure that makes large-scale visual experiences possible.
That's the perfect way to summarize it.
Well, speaking of bandwidth, that is a great place to leave you today. We are pushing copper to its absolute limit with 4K at 17.82 gigabits per second.
It really makes you wonder.
It does. If this is the heavy infrastructure required just for 4K, what kind of massive overhaul are we going to need when 8K becomes the standard in public spaces? Something for you to mull over until next time.